One second. Welcome to another week of this week's Sefer Hoshe'a class. We're starting where we picked up off last week in Perek Hamishi. And if you take a look at the first pasuk that we're just looking at, we know who the Kohanim are and who Bet HaMelech is, right? They're both leadership, spiritual leadership, the political establishment. But why is Bet Yisrael in between, right? Kohanim is leaders, Bet HaMelech are leaders. Why is Bet Yisrael caught in the middle? You would think Bet Yisrael is talking about Bnei Yisrael, right? So why are they caught in the middle as being addressed? That's my question over here.
I have a far-reached theory.
Okay.
Yeah, very far-reached. Maybe because it's an order of people who were loyal to God. So all the Melachim were really disloyal, and maybe we could assume that the Kohanim might have stayed loyal, and the people were influenced by the kings, but they weren't as bad as the kings in terms of they weren't Mahati Israel, they were just Hatim.
Right. So actually interesting. Ibn Ezra offers a different explanation. And by the way, I didn't see this Ibn Ezra till now. He says, Bet Israel, so either Gam Hakshivu, Bet Israel Sheochachtim, also listen, Bet Israel, that the Kohanim tried to scold, or Bet Israel is the Sanhedrin. Okay? So it could be, according to Ibn Ezra, that Bet Yisrael is talking about the Sanhedrin. So that you would have the Kohanim, the Sanhedrin, and the Hamelech, which is interesting. I bring that up again, like I told you, because when you see a pasuk with leaders in it, Kohanim and Melech, Bet HaMelech, so Bet Yisrael you might think should be leadership as well. So now you know that according to Ibn Ezra, it's talking about the Sanhedrin. According to, let me just see the Radak says over here as follows: Ata shav lehochiach Yehuda. Right, so that before he was scolding Yisrael, now he's scolding Yehuda, which is interesting. Bet Yisrael sounds like Yisrael, might be talking about Yehuda. Ve'otam shehayu re'uyim lehochicham, vehem kohanei Bet Hamikdash. The Kohanim were the ones who were supposed to be giving rebuke to the people, but instead they are corrupt. Shayu bechelko shel Yehuda, right? The Kohanim are in the Chelik of Yehuda. Ubet HaMelech gam ken elayim la'ochiach et Yisrael. Also, the kings, right? The kingdom and the kingship is supposed to teach Bet Yisrael, which is Anshe Yehuda, to go in the right way, and they're not. Ve'lasot hamishpat. Ve'chara shevet Yehuda Bet Yisrael. Why is shevet Yehuda being called Bet Yisrael over here? Ricky,
because
Freddie,
right around there in Melachim, later, during this time, weren't Yehuda compared to Yisrael? Something and now even you were acting like Ephraim?
Could be good. Very good, Ephraim. Or we add to that, Ricky, that who is Bnei Yisrael after the 10 tribes are exiled? Yehuda, right? What we know is Yehuda, which is the southern territory of Am Yisrael. When the northern tribes get exiled, the ones that are left are called Yehuda. That consists of the Bnei Yisrael that's left in Eretz Yisrael. Kihem ikar Bet Yisrael. V'yesh mefarshim Bet Yisrael hanhedrin shem shoftei Yisrael. So again, there's two ways to look at this pasuk. Either we are in the middle because we were supposed to be taught by the Kohanim and Bet HaMelech, we weren't, or it's a Sanhedrin. And what are we told? Ki lachem hamishpat. Ki lachem hamishpat means you were supposed to judge properly, but instead you became like a trap. And you trap the people into a bad reality of how to act improperly. V'shahata setim hetniku, v'ani musar lechulam. Right? when the setim, when they build traps, deep traps, le'amik, amok means deep. When you build and dig deep traps for the people, the only one that can teach them is God. Va'ani musar lechulam. Okay, I'm assuming here we're talking about God speaking. We started last week's dibur with Shim'u, to listen to the word of God. I'm assuming here it's not the Navi talking, or I'm not going to rule it out, but I'm assuming. And then, Ani adati Ephraim, Yisrael nechamimeni, ki ata izneta Ephraim, nitma Yisrael. Ani yadati Ephraim. I knew Ephraim's evil ways. Ki ata hizneta Ephraim. Right? Ephraim, which is the northern tribes, right, Ricky and Freddie, the northern tribes were called out as Yosef, Ephraim being the leader. So Ephraim went and became like a zonah, right? You defiled yourself. You went against God, and Nitma Yisrael, and Yisrael defiled himself. And what happened as a result? I think I spoke about this last week in my Tish'a B'Av class. Oh no, I didn't. I spoke about it yesterday in my Midrash class. How absurd it is that Bnei Yisrael, hold on, Freddie. How absurd it is that Bnei Yisrael does not return to its God. Even an animal that goes astray, the Pasuk says, knows, even a shor, an ox that might go astray, knows its owner. Look what it says here. Lo yitenu ma'alelehim lashuv el Elohim ruach zenuni mekid bam ve'et Adonai lo yada'u. They don't allow themselves to turn back to God. Okay, they don't want to know God. Yes, Freddie, question.
Yeah, I just thought of this now. So a lot of times, Nevi'im called Bnei Israel a zonah, a nation of zenut, but wouldn't it be more accurate to say that we were Isha Sotah, because a zonah is not committed to anyone in particular. So, but a Isha Sotah should be. So I just thought that it's a little odd that we compare ourselves to a zonah, our zonot, when zonot aren't supposed to be committed to anyone. They're not committed to anything. But an Isha Sotah sounds more like someone who's supposed to be committed to God, who's going off worshiping other gods.
So let me answer to that. It's very possible, that's an excellent question. It's very possible that the Zonah reference is that Bnei Yisrael do go to God from time to time. They go to God, they go to that God, they go to that God. They choose gods based on what's good for them at the moment. And so Lashuv El Elohim means to choose God as the only God. They can't do that. They flip-flop a lot. They go from God to God. You get that?
No,
That's
because
Zenut.
an Isha Sotah doesn't necessarily leave her husband. An Isha Sotah can be with her husband, and with other gods, right? Most likely, Bnei Israel just added to their repertoire of gods. They didn't get rid of God, of course, but they still, a zonah isn't as I'm not arguing about the amount. I'm arguing about how a zonah was never committed to anyone.
It's a very good question. It's a very good question. Ricky, you hear that question? Great question. Right? When Bnei Yisrael portrayed, actually, I'm going to add a third one to the list. There's another one you get to the list. 3 imageries, I would say, to the list. Isha Sotah, Ben Sorer Umore, a rebellious son, and a Zonah. Now, you're saying from the going after other gods perspective, we can look at 2 possibilities. Either an Isha Sotah or an Isha Zonah. And the question is, what is the fundamental difference, we have to ask ourselves, between an Isha Sotah and an Isha Zonah? What is the fundamental difference between the 2? So I would say that the difference is that a Zonah is not committed to a husband. a zonah never committed, in a sense, to marriage.
I don't know. What are you asking me?
And so it's interesting. Maybe the imagery here is that they're so far removed from their relationship of their marriage, their original marriage, that now they've assumed a worse status of a zonah. A zonah might be worse in some sense than an isha sotah, to some extent. An isha sotah committed herself at a time, then went to someone else, maybe even to get married. An isha zonah hops around. An isha sotah seems to be from that man to that man only. An isha zonah maybe hops around. So that's maybe why I think that imagery. And to add to that, really zenut is the theme of this book. If you've been here in the first class, maybe you weren't, for either of you, the first action that Hoshe'a is told to do is to marry an eshet zenunim. Not in reality, we said. We interpret this as part of the Nebu'ah, a prophecy. Go marry an eshet zenunim, because the people of the land have gone astray from God with zenut. And again, they're going from God to God and from nation to nation and avodah zarah to avodah zarah. So that would be my answer. However, I will answer to you. I would like to do more research on this, Freddie, and find out the real, full, practical difference in imagery in the Tanakh in terms of using the metaphor of Bnei Israel, right, and comparing them to the mashal, to an isha zonah. I would like to do more research on that and not tell you that that answer is a full answer. That's my perception of it, but I would like to look at it further because that's an excellent question. And finding the right answer might really explain more why zonah was used. Great question. I like that. Thank you. וענה גאון ישראל בפניו בישראל ואפרים כשלו בעוונם כשל גם יהודה עמם. The pride of Yisrael answered before them. And what happens when they're proud? No. It shall be humbled. They're going to be humbled. They're going to fall, and Yehudah is going to fall with them. Meaning Bnei Israel will not find the right path. Why? How are they going to go find God? Look at the pasuk, pasuk vav. בסונם ובבחנם ילכו לבקש את אדוני ולא ימצאו חלס מהם באדוני בגדו כי בנים זרים ילדו עתה יאכלם חודש את חלקיהם. How do they go to greet God?
Korbanot.
Right, let's say korbanot. בסונם ובבחנם. They take their animals, and maybe this, Freddie, again, is the zonah imagery. I'll go back to God when I want to. I'll come with my animals. I'll give them, I'll bribe God, and I'll go back to my other. No. They won't find God. Halas mehem. He has cast them off. Badonai bagadu. And by the way, here also we might be back to an imagery of a husband and a wife, not zonah anymore, because now they've committed treason. And does a zonah commit treason? Right? You would argue, Freddie, correctly so. No. A woman who is married commits treason. A woman that's a zonah never commits treason. She's not committed to anybody. Right? Kibanim zarim yaladu. Because they gave birth to foreign children. Ata yochelem chodesh et chelkehem. What in the world does that mean? The new moon or the chodesh will eat up their portion. Okay, boys, let's do what we usually do. Let's go into the Mefarshim. Ele habanim im chelkehem chodesh ra. Ele habanim im chelkehem chodesh ra. It sounds like they can have like a bad month, as if like a bad start or a bad portion. That's what it sounds like from Ibn Ezra. Radak says the following. Ata bekarov. Anyone want to read this? Ata bekarov.
Sure. עתה בקרוב יבוא חודש שיוכל האויב אותם ואת חלקיהם. רוצה לומר
Stop there for that. Stop there for that. Soon enough, a month will come that the oyev will eat them in their portion. That's a weird way of phrasing that.
What does it mean, their portion? Their nahala?
Them or their food or their property. Helkem, their portion. Oh look, Rotze Lomar, keep reading Rotze Lomar. You just answered your question.
רוצה לומר שדותיהם וכרמיהם. So they're vineyards?
Yep.
כמו ואכילת החלק שהוא כמו חלקת השדה, והחודש הזה הוא חודש תמוז. Okay? שהבוקעה העיר וחודש אב שחורבה, או פירוש חדש בזמן מועט כמו חודש, וכן הכחיד את שלושת הרעים בירח אחד לדעת
Yerach is a month. Interesting. Look what he's saying over here. We have months in our calendar where certain, I don't want to say the month itself, certain things happen to us in those months, as if like the enemy came in those months. And by the way, Tammuz, Av, right? Those are the months where the enemy would come to war. And it's interesting, like those months became months where the enemy said we're gonna destroy Bnei Israel. So he's saying Yochelem Chodesh means the month of your doom will come, right? As if there will be a month where you will be doomed, right? Similar to where we find that Av, both Beit HaMikdash was destroyed. Tammuz, both times that the city walls are broken down. As if there's, again, not anything but superstition, just from a reality of the enemy attacking at a certain time, right? They choose a certain month to do it. That's what it sounds like. Now, Ledat Yonatan, what about the Aramaic translation? Selomar Chodesh bechodesh, Kilomar. Well, it says, according to the Aramaic translation, read it differently. Chodesh bechodesh, meaning always. Kibani ata yochelem chodesh, which means every month they'll be eating up their portion, which means month by month, like day by day. Interesting. That's an interesting way to look at it. Did you get that or no?
I was moving. What did you say?
It says that when you say chodesh, you can mean by that chodesh bechodesh, like every single month. You get that? The Aramaic translation says every single month they will eat up your, like month by month, like slowly but surely they're going to wipe you out. That's how the Aramaic, and by the way, the Aramaic translation is usually what we accept many times as a translation.
Like month by month.
Exactly. I like that translation the best personally. Right? Yochelem chodesh bechodesh et chelkehem. Right? I like that one. Tik'u b'shofar giv'ah hasosera berama hari'u bet aben acharecha binyamin. Okay, there's an alarm being sound for what? What do you usually think of? Tekat b'shofar. Think about what you think of a shofar when you have Tanakh. What's shofar used for? Usually.
Gathering and moving forward.
Right, gathering us to move forward for victory or to tekat b'shofar gadol leherutenu, to redeem us. Here the shofar is there for destruction. Tik'u shofar bagiv'ah. Okay? So here it says that the shofar is being blown because the oyev is coming after it destroyed the north. It's coming to the south. So it says here in the Radak, Kemoshe tokim bashofar. And by the way, we're looking at Ibn Ezra and Radah because that was part of the point of this summer class, is to look at Mifarshim, specifically our Sephardic Mifarshim on our Perush, on the Tanakh. Kemoshe tokim bashofar leazira am litasef elai, like we warn people. Ha'am ve'ason ve'ela mekomot hen leBinyamin. Ubet aven haya libnei Yosef leEphraim. Samuch leBinyamin. As if the enemy is coming from the north to the south. The enemy is coming after Binyamin. Ki kevar kavash eretz Ephraim. Because Ephraim, as we see in the next pasuk, is already destroyed. The enemy is after you next. That's the point of this nivuah. Ephraim neshamati v'yom tochecha b'shivtei selo da'ati ne'emana. So Ephraim became stricken with horror, l'shama, on the day of tochecha, the day of Musar, the day that God chastised them for their evil doings. I proclaim ne'emana, right? That God is actually fulfilling His word to do what? To destroy them for their evil actions. Hayu sare Yehuda kemasire gebul ale mishpok kamaim ibrati. Yehuda, you know what they did? They were like masige gebul. Boys, any of you know what that means? Masire gebul. What's masir gebul?
Border control.
Masir gebul.
Shifters of field boundaries.
So what does that mean? Now, very good, Ricky. I like that. Do you know the Isur? It says in the Torah, Lo tasir gebul re'acha Hashem gavelu rishonim. Don't. Actually, what we're going to do right now, you boys are going to be part of this. You're going to remember this as part of the class. We're going to link this to that pasuk in the Torah. Okay? So that the next time you come to Sefaria, that pasuk will actually be there. We're going to add a connection to the Tanakh. I think it's in Devarim. Let me double check. 1 second. This will be beautiful if we can get this done. It's in Perek Kaf Bet. Let me check. Not a moment. Oh, come on, Nathan. Find it.
I just made myself light with candles.
Where's Lo Tasim Re'acha? Lo Tasim Re'acha Asher Gabelu Rishonim V'Nachalatecha Shetilchal. Oh, 1 second. 1 second, because I want to actually make the connection here. But apparently, I'm forgetting. Maybe it's in Mishpatim. I could be wrong. Maybe it's not in Kitavo. I'm in Kitase. It's a pasuk that says, "Don't steal territory by moving the boundaries." I was under the impression Kitase, but I'm assuming because of this that I'm correct. So let's look for the pasuk this way. Lo tasir gibur re'acha. It isn't Devarim, but it's in Perek Yotet. Okay. So we're going to make a connection over here between this and, here it is, and this pasuk. And we're going to actually make a connection here, related passage, add connection. And that means, Ricky and Freddie, the next time you go to this pasuk in Hoshe'a and you click on it, that your leaders steal people's territory. There used to be territory markers of borders. How do you steal it? You shift those markers. It's like moving back a fence in olden times terminology. You move the fence and say, oh, my territory is bigger. I have a bigger land. I have a bigger field. So now, by the way, when you click on this pasuk and you click on Tanakh, it actually is going to bring you to that pasuk. And those pasukim will be connected forever now. How cool. Now you know the Torah. And by the way, that Perashah is called Perashat Shofetim and Shoterim, and the leaders are not following the rules. They're the ones that are stealing other people's boundaries. Ashuk Ephraim Resus Mishpat il halach acharei sav. And Ricky, no worries. I know you need to leave. We said by 9, so no worries when you need to sign off. Ephraim is ashuk, defrauded, robbed of mishpat. Ki il halach acharei sav. What does that mean? They left after sav, right? That sounds like they went after the commandment. What's acharei sav? Acharei sav means they
Commandment of Ashur.
So maybe Ashur, or maybe Sav means the instruction of human beings, says Ibn Ezra. Mitzvat anashim, the commandment of people, not God. Like Ashur, like you're saying, like people who tell you to be corrupt, or people who teach you the wrong way, and you're going after the wrong instruction, not God's. Let's look at the Radak. Radak says, Shem imom metzaveh, v'chen sav lesav b'shekel kav. He says, and he says that when it's well known what we're talking about, they go after instruction. We know they're not following God's instruction. So who's left? Human instruction, right? You're following human instruction, not God's instructions. Va'ani cha'ash le'Ephraim. Freddie, just me and you now. Va'ani, you want to read Chavod? Va'ani cha'ash. Could you see it or no?
Yeah, I can see it.
I made it nice and big for you. Is that better?
Yeah. Va'ani cha'ash le'Ephraim v'charakav le'bet Yehuda.
Okay. Cha'ash. Cha'ash is a rot, to rot. Va'ani cha'ash le'Ephraim charakav. Rakav is decay. So I became the decay and the rotting of Ephraim and Yehuda.
Nice.
Nice, but they had to be destroyed. Keep on going. Vayar Ephraim et Holyo.
Vayar Ephraim et Holyo v'Yehuda.
Tamim, yalla.
Vayar Ephraim et Holyo v'Yehuda et Mizoro v'Yelech Ephraim el Ashur v'Yishlach el Melech Yareb v'hu lo yuchal lirpo lachem lo yirhe mikem azor.
Yeah, what does that mean?
And Ephraim saw his holy, his not sickness. Viudat mizoro.
I'm assuming that word means sickness also. Sores. Talking about the sores of the body.
I feel like that those words. I feel like mazor
Let's see how
is
that word.
Tahanunim, that word.
Makato. Lefi sheyezoru oto. Nikret mazor. We say that nezoru, like yezoru. Where is it in the
It could be Masor I'm thinking about. I don't know.
Yes, Masor. Yeah, it was like a siege.
Yeah.
Going.
Vayelech Ephraim el Ashur, and Ephraim was says Vayelech, but it should be Ashur lakach et Ephraim. Ephraim didn't go; they were taken. But Ephraim.
No, before Ashur conquered them. It's when they were following them for their avodah zarah and relying on them.
Okay.
They get destroyed by them, right? Oh, because if you think about it, we remember that they thought they can follow them for their help, for their war. And Vayishlach el Melech Yarev. We'll explain what that is. He sent envoys to the king, but they can't help
him. He couldn't save them, and he won't heal your sickness. He can't heal your sickness.
So let's look who Melech Yarev is. Vayishlach el Melech Yarev. Who's Melech Yarev? One second. Ibn Ezra.
I keep thinking Yad of
Oh,
Am.
Shem Makom be'Ashur. And they're saying that Yehuda sent to Ashur to help them and assist them. I think we know that. There's a story in the Navi where they turn to Ashur, I think, for help.
Don't they turn to Mitzrayim for help?
What?
I don't remember Ashur. I remember them turning to Mitzrayim, and then the pasuk says "Ubatahta b'Mitzrayim," not Ashur, from what I remember.
Should we look it up 1 second? We have the time. Should we look it up?
Yeah. I can't read in this light, so I'm switching to my computer.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Let's see if I can find it. Melachim vit hamelech shalach el Ashur. What happened?
Nothing.
Oh, here.
Wax.
Hizkiyahu.
My phone.
Freddie. Hizkiyahu sent to Sancheriv a lot of money.
But why are we bashing Hizkiyahu?
We're not, but that's part of the reliance on Ashur. Even though it wasn't extremely negative, it was still some sort of subservience to Ashur.
Sorry, I'm using candles to light the room,
No
wax
worries.
is dripping.
No worries whatsoever. No worries whatsoever.
I feel like I'm in the Stone Ages. Okay, yeah. So we said that Hizkiyahu sent to Ashur, and Yarev is where Sanheriv was.
What?
We're saying that Sanheriv was the king of Yarev, where Yarev is like the capital of Ashur.
It's probably an important city in there.
Okay.
Okay. He will not heal your sores. I'm looking now 1 more second to see commentary. Oh. So let's not attack him. Let's not attack Hizkiyahu. Rashi says, Ze ahad shenatan shohad letiglat pil eser leozro al resi melech aram. Let's open that up 1 second. Rashi quotes from, let's look at it 1 second. He says that Ephraim went to Ashur, that's Hoshe'a ben Elah. He says, Bishnat shetem esrei le'achaz melech Yehuda, malach Hoshe'a ben Elah. He did evil. Ashur came to him and Hoshe'a served him. So that's the Ephraim reference. The Yehuda reference is not about Hizkiyahu, like you said, why it's Hizkiyahu, not his fault. But Rashi actually brings that it was Ahaz. And Ahaz, let me bring it up. Ahaz, come on, I'm trying to click it. Melachim bet perek tet zayin. Okay, 1 second.
I don't know. That seems to me like a whitewashing.
What do you mean?
It seems like this is actually whitewashing the Navi's rebuke of Hizkiah.
No. The Navi never says Chizkiah. I said Chizkiah, not the Navi.
Yeah, but it seems to be implying it.
No, not necessarily. Because look, this is worse. This is Retzi Melech Aram. he hired people to go fight against Bnei Israel. So Ahaz sent Malachim to Tiglat Pileser Melech Ashur, and he says, Avdecha ubincha ani, I am your servant, please help me from Aram. And then he gives him Kesef Zahav, Hanimsa, and he brings him Shohad. I don't think in Chizkiah it says this thing. I think this is much worse.
Why? Because we're asking for people for help instead of God? Is that the problem?
Say it again.
The problem is that we're asking people for help and not God?
We're asking Melech Ashur for help. We're asking the most evil kingdom for help.
Yeah, but I feel like we should take whatever we can get. So Ashur is willing to help. We're not going to stand on principle and say.
No, but again, the principle is to act good in the eyes of God. Look what it says about Freddie, you're missing the. I know you're busy, but because I know you're trying to set up. Look what it says about Achai. It says that he didn't do good in the eyes of Hashem. He did molech, okay? He did hakdara on the bamot gevoot. It shows that what's the punishment is Retzi Melech Aram and Pekach ben Remaliyahu Melech Yisrael came to fight against Yerushalayim, and Ahaz couldn't fight. It's telling us that it's their punishment. He's not turning to God because he doesn't want to. His Kiyahu, on the other hand, is not someone we should, like you told me, and I agree with you. Maybe it wasn't, the best person. Ahaz is someone who gives shohat to Melech Ashur. He was not faithful to God.
Okay. I just the only problem I'm having is the problem with shohat to Ashur, right? If Ashur can help us, why wouldn't we take it, even if they're the most evil people on earth?
Help you. That's the point. He can help you. God, you're not to God. It's like you're doing mitzvot and people are trying to hurt you. You're totally anti-God.
Okay. Yeah, I hear. Yeah.
Oh my God. This pasuk reminds me of one other pasuk in the Torah. כי אני הוא ואין אלוהים עמדי, אני המטבח חיה, מחסתי ואני ארפא ואין מידי מסיל. Do you know what that pasuk is from?
Is that from Nisavim?
I'll do it again. ראו עתה כי אני הוא ואין אלוהים עמדי, אני המטבח חיה, מחסתי ואני ארפא ואין בידי מסיל. I'm going to connect the pasuk now. I'm actually pretty.
It's not from Nisavim?
Nope.
Re'eh?
Nope. Ha'azinu. And it says in Ha'azinu, in Aliyat Hamishi, the last pasuk, Re'u ata, and we'll read the pasuk now and what it's telling us and how it's connecting. Ani hu means I am the God, right? I am the God. Ve'en Elohim imadi, there's no other God but me. Stop trying to avodah zarah. Ani amitva hayeh, mahasti v'ani erpa. Ve'en miyadi masil. Carefully what it says in this pasuk. Esa ve'en masil. What's the next pasuk in Hazinu? Ki esa el shai miyadi. That's actually the pasuk talking about that God's going to finally vindicate us and save us from our enemies. Here it says, Ani etrof ve'elech, I'm going to tear apart Yehuda. Esa, I'm going to lift my head up, but no one's going to save you. Instead of destroying you, that pasuk was used to talk about the fact that God will destroy the enemy of Israel. Now it's talking about destroying the enemy of God, which is Bnei Yisrael and Yehuda. you get the turnaround over here from Ha'azinu to this pasuk.
Yeah.
And it's wild. If you know that pasuk, it makes sense. If you don't, it doesn't help you. Ani, and ani. I hope you see that. Ani. Right? You see that. You see Esa, ki Esa al shamayim, and ve'en masil, ve'en mi masil. Va'ani erpa. Freddie, we just read that. I'm the one that will heal you, right? Ani, he can heal you. I could. Va'ani erpa. And what's the next pasuk? Elech ashuva el mekomi ad asher yeshemu bikshu fanai basar lahem yeshahruneni. I don't know how you're. That's a hard one to say. Yeshaharuneni. That's a hard one. I'm gonna go return to my, because I'm not sure on that one if it's neni or is it yeshaharuneni or yeshaharuneni? I'm not sure with this one if it's yeshaharuneni. I'm not sure. Even if I think in this one it's very hard to make it domot and keep the sof pasuk on the resh. Yeshaharuni. It's very hard. Now, Freddie, look what it says. I'm going to return to my place. Who's supposed to return? I'm Israel. They're not. So I'm going to return to my place until they are guilty enough to turn to me. Basar lahem. That's basar. Where's basar lahem from?
In Tefillah?
I think basar lahem is basar lecha. We actually just read that in Perashat Ha'azinu in Parashat Bayit Hanan in Kitolid Banim. I think we just read in Kitolid Banim Uvnei Banim, and we read Basar Lecha Umsaucha. When you are in trouble and the evil finds you, then you're going to turn back. And by the way, the Perek started with the Perek, I keep on trying to go to Hoshe'a Perek 6, and somehow it keeps taking me to Perek 5 started with...
Sefaria is not working for me. I don't use it anymore.
Perek 5 ends with Elech ve'ashuva, and Perek 6 starts with Lechu ve'nashuva el Adonai. Let's return to God. But the last pasuk is God's going to return to his place. Basar lahem yishahruneni. And now they're going to beg me favor when they're in trouble. Let's add this connection as well to this pasuk in Sefer Devarim, chapter 4, in Kitolid Banim Uvnei Banim, where we just read on Tish'a B'Av, Basar Umsa'ucha Kol HaDevarim Ha'ele. And what's the end of the pasuk? V'shavta ad Adonai Elohecha. And you will return back to God. And the next pasuk over here in Hoshe'a, which we'll start with the next week, is Lechu v'nashuva el Adonai. Right? And here's, we said, Tzar lecha v'shavta ad Adonai Elohecha v'shama'ta b'kolo. So that we'll start with next week. Okay?
All right. You know, a lot more difficult than that word is milat tanu.
Yes, milatanu. Yes.